Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guests today are real estate veterans with a ton of experience. They've personally acquired more than 100 turnkey properties and now devote their time to mentoring others. Plus, they host their own podcast. Gibson and Jeff Schechter are co-founders of High Return Real Estate. Jeff and Jack, or Schecky, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
I'm really pumped. You guys are a lot of fun already. We've just been talking for about 10 minutes, and I really like you guys, so we'll have a blast. So to kick things off, let's talk about your real estate goals right now. Jack, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, there's two parts to what, that we're doing, right? We have High Return Real Estate, which is essentially we're a flipping company, right? We acquire properties and we get them performing, and then we sell them to investors. And then I also have my own buy and hold, portfolio. So the reason why I got into the flipping in the first place was, just to acquire capital much faster to be able to then build my portfolio.
Yeah.
So there was always an end game involved, with selling properties and doing more, active type investing, where it's you make the transaction, right? You get your money, and then you got to figure out a way to deploy that again to create long-term passive income. So I'm a huge fan of passive income. My other company I've been involved with for about 20 years in the network marketing industry is all about building passive income. So naturally, just kind of ties in well with real estate. It's obviously a lot more capital intensive versus in that business, it's much more, people and labor intensive. So it's just two totally different models, right? But the same end goal really is to create this long-term sustainable income stream that can create an incredible lifestyle for your family.
Oh, for sure. And are you going after, so let's say this year, do you have targets that you want to acquire X amount of new units, or do you want to hit different residual income levels?
I should have goals that I could be able to tell you like right off the top of my head, right? So, but I don't. And, last year we sold 100 properties through High Return Real Estate, which is, it's a good year, right? But just due to some former partners that were they weren't on the up and up, let's just say, it really cost us most of our profit. So, I think last year I would have said, yeah, we want to make, $2 million or whatever, right? Now this year, the game has changed where I just want to have a profitable company that rewards Schecky and I for all the hard work that we've put in. So yeah. It sounds terrible for me to say that because it's not how I'm wired. But, after you go through certain experiences, it just causes you to put different things in maybe a little bit more perspective and realize that it's not always about just, being number one and making huge income.
Yeah, no, 100%. Schecky, what are your real estate goals? Are they pretty much aligned with that?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I'm just a tad older than Jack, as you can see by my gray hair. So I'm, a little bit closer maybe to that age where I want to be slowing down a little bit. Although I don't feel or see any signs of it. But yeah, I agree with Jack. I mean, our company, High Return Real Estate, is designed to, it's a very active business. So, there's a lot of moving parts and we handle all the property management too. So there's a lot of work to do and a lot of operational things. But the more that we sell, obviously, the more profits that we make, the more that Jack and I can go out and reinvest actually in our own product. So, we recently had a conversation, just private conversation that I'm sure Jack doesn't care if I share because it's very general, but, we'd like to get 10 more doors this year, and we'd like to get 20 more doors next year that are owned between us and our partnership, just buy and hold. And, those are going to be mostly single family homes in the Midwest where there's good price to rent ratios. But the goal there, yes, is to create a situation where you've got a pretty significant stream of passive income so that it's not all about beating yourself up every day. I don't mind working, but I do want to get to a point where if I don't feel like working, I don't have to work.
Yeah.
And, it's certainly Social Security, or, whatever they call it in Canada, it's just not, there's not enough there to have any kind of lifestyle to retire on and make any kind of life for yourself.
Yeah. And you guys, 100 properties is a decent number of properties in a portfolio. What sort of systems or changes in how you thought about real estate had to occur as you started scaling that number?
So just so you know, we control 100, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, I just want to make that distinction to your listeners, because we have hard money that capital as well, and we have bank notes, and we have I've got different sources of funding for us to be able to acquire the properties, right? So yeah. It's not like I own 100 outright, but in real estate, the game is really more, if you're really trying to scale, it's more about controlling the properties than it is actually outright owning them. So that's a whole different podcast, right?
Yeah.
But definitely, we definitely want to continue to provide a really great product for our investors. Like, that's always the first thing that we're thinking about, is how can we provide a better quality of product, a better experience, a more seamless passive income for all of our investor clients. And if we do that, if we keep dialing that in and keep working and focusing on delivering more value, I just feel like, we're going to be blessed beyond measure. I don't know where that's going to come from, how it's going to happen, but both Schecky and I are very dialed into that belief system that it's just abundance is going to come our way, one way or another. So that's the game that we're playing right now. So feel like we're about to make a massive breakthrough, because we've said this for a while, Schecky, we're almost there. But we feel like we've got a lot of the major, challenges behind us, and got our systems really dialed in now to where we really can scale up and do some very, very significant volume.
Yeah. And Schecky, so, let's say you guys went from 0 to 10 to 50 and up. Did you have to change how you thought about your business in order to hit those new levels?
Well, as Jack alluded to, I think the magic is in the systems. There's no way to scale any business without some proper systems in place. But one of the things that we really learned the hard way is that there is absolutely, I know a lot of people do it, but in this business, there is absolutely no way to cut corners, because it's going to always come back to bite you on the ass in one way or another, right? And so, like Jack said, we're very, very dialed into making sure that every one of our properties that ends up in the hands of an investor is nearly a carbon copy of another one. No two are ever going to be the same, but the product itself is very, very systemized. It performs very similarly. It's in a very similar neighborhood. It's got a very similar tenant, but the rehab processes especially were all handled exactly the same way. And it took us a long freaking time to get to that. And so many mistakes and so many, big financial mistakes. It's almost like, the universe obviously is very kind and is always going to give you the lessons that you need. And sometimes the more expensive lessons are the ones that you need to learn the most. And Lord knows we've had our share of extremely expensive lessons, but I'm proud to say we've got it. It's not perfect, but we've got it very, very dialed in. And that's really what has allowed us to scale.
Yeah. And would it be safe to say, because I know lots of guys, performing at the higher level, they'll have their kitchen A, B, and C, and it's just a variation of which kitchen they're putting in that house. Is that kind of what you're talking about with housing?
Not really. We basically go through a 41-point checklist, and we're in C-class properties, so I wouldn't exactly call them the Taj Mahal. They're working class neighborhoods. And the expectation on the part of the tenant is they're not looking for granite countertops or anything like that. So we're just going to go in and look, and if a kitchen needs, cabinets need replacing, we'll just replace them. We're not necessarily redesigning. If there's cabinets on the left wall and they're bad, we're just going to take them down and put new ones on the left wall. We're not doing any kind of like reconfiguration unless the place is just completely trashed or needs a full gut job or something like that. And it just makes sense to do that. But we've just learned that do it a certain way and do it the same way every time. Replace what needs to be replaced. Mechanicals, obviously, after a certain amount of age, furnaces, hot water heaters, doesn't matter if they're working. If they're old, just get them out, put a new one in, because we're also, again, trying to reduce. We're investors too, so we're looking at it through that same lens as our investors, and we know that there's going to be CapEx costs moving forward, so we're just trying to do everything we can to minimize that for the investor that's stepping into that property.
Yeah. And so, Jack, as your business has grown, have you developed any routines or rituals, maybe on a personal level, that has really helped you stay focused?
That's such a great question. And if I were really a top performing entrepreneur, I'd have some rituals in place. One thing I do is, I work out pretty much every morning. I follow the same basic meal plan, drink tons of water. So like that, my energy is good to sustain me because I am running two businesses. Schecky's running high return real estate. He's the CEO. But I'm involved in both, quite a bit throughout a given work day. Right. So every day is just so different, right? Because I could be in one business in one day and then the next business in another. I could be split in one day between the two. So it is difficult to develop any rituals at this stage of trying to scale up both. I think that, huge thing that a lot of entrepreneurs really have to look at for long-term sustainability is what's your health and fitness. If you're really not dialed in on that, then look, if your body's breaking down, you're going to eventually, that's going to play and really, really cut into your productivity in your business. There's just no way around it. So I just definitely, Schecky's same way. The guy is very, very health conscious and in great shape for someone of his biological, chronological age.
Be careful now.
It was a compliment, kind of.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point with the physical fitness. You when you're fit, you handle travel a whole lot better. All that sort of stuff. So, Schecky, do you have anything to add with that? Anything you?
Yeah, no, I share that sentiment, and I do a very light workout in the morning. I also believe that spiritual fitness and attitude fitness are really important. I've adopted a habit of, just when I put my head down on the pillow at night, I just try and think of 3 things that I am grateful for. And I also think about okay, what would be tomorrow 3 wins that would be, or at least 1 good win tomorrow that I want to accomplish, and I also try and reflect back on the day, what were the big wins for the day? And the same thing when I wake up, it's what am I grateful for? God, I was granted another day. And, but yeah, physical fitness is huge, but it affects everything else. I recently went through a program where I am off all the bad stuff right now. I'm off sugar, I'm off dairy, I'm off grains, I'm off caffeine, I'm off alcohol.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, there's
there's no sounds like you went full keto.
Yeah.
Well, I swing in and out of keto.
Okay.
Thankfully I'm not off dating, so I actually have some fun. But it's really, really helped me with, because obviously running this company, we got a million moving parts, and just being able to stay on top of everything and stay remotely organized. And, we don't have a big staff. And so there's just a lot of things falling on our shoulders. And, so I do that, and I do my light workout in the morning, and in the evening I usually go to yoga most evenings. So it's just a way to de-stress and get away from the workday and get out of the head space and get more into the body space. And I wouldn't say that that's total fitness, because there's certainly an internal and spiritual component to that. But that's really how I do it, and I just, like Jack said, I just try and keep a positive attitude, and, Jack and I'll bellyache about things that are going on, but at the end of the day, we will usually end up sometimes after a roundabout discussion, like, hey, we're still here. We're still okay. We still got this to be grateful for. We still got a lot of great blessings on our plate. And I feel like it's really important to focus on that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Plus with yoga, that can be a source for dates too, right? So.
Yeah, it can. It's not exactly like it's not like you can walk into the yoga studio and start hitting on women. Because usually everybody's there, doing their thing, and there's an instructor and whatever. But sometimes after or before, sometimes a little conversation. You never know. But,
didn't you meet that like crazy, like the psycho girlfriend you had at yoga?
Dude, that's not for this podcast.
Oh, okay.
The answer is yes, I did. That's for another podcast.
All right.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Jack, you mentioned partnership troubles, and this is a question I get asked a lot. People will email and say, "Hey, listen, I have X number of properties. I want to partner with somebody to kind of grow the business." What sort of advice would you give somebody now when they're vetting a potential partner, having experienced what you have recently experienced?
Well, I just want to make sure that we're clear that the partnership Schecky and I have has been fantastic. So,
yeah.
We have a 50-50 split between high return real estate, and we always are able to work through any type of problems and any disagreements. We realize that we just talk them through, and we come to a conclusion. There's no issues. So as far as former partners, when we kind of first got started, like we were really just sales and marketing guys. That's really what we are. I mean, we're really good at that, and we enjoy it and love it. But our supplier turned out to be a massive, unscrupulous type guy. And so being the good guys that we were then kind of forced into a role into the supply side equation, going back and fixing up properties that he had left, didn't complete work on, or did work, but it was just putting lipstick on a pig, carpet and paint, but the interior bones of the property were not good. So we had to go back over a lot of properties and redo work. And, I put in a lot of my own money back into a lot of the commissions that I made selling them. I put them back into the properties, and I struggled with that because, like, man, I worked hard and did a lot of work to raise the capital to sell the properties, and then I'm giving it all kind of away. So that's just where you got to have a lot of faith that the God, universe, spiritual faith, that if you take care of other people, that you will eventually be taken care of 10 times, 20 times down the road. So that's what we've just been operating on. And, we don't know, we never really know if that's how it's going to play out. Right. But that's what we believe.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Right. The book isn't completed.
Yeah. And do you wish maybe you dug a little deeper, or what do you think you could have done differently?
Well, it's obviously hindsight is always 20/20, right? So you can see now that I look back, I always tell the story of the frog and the scorpion. The frog wanted to cross the scorpion wanted to cross the river, so he begged the frog, and the frog did it, and then the scorpion stung him. And as the frog was dying, he said, "Why'd you sting me?" And he said, "Well, I'm a scorpion. That's what I do. Like, what did you expect from me?" Mm-hmm. And so if we would have just done some background checks, we could have figured out that these guys were scorpions, and that's just what they do, right? They sting people. So we could have really done some more due diligence on these guys to figure out how do they show up in their past. It's probably not that determines anybody's future. People can change, but it could have given us a clue card to be a lot more careful and maybe a little more trust, but verify a lot, right? Yeah. Trust, but verify. I think that's the biggest thing we learned. Trust, but verify.
Yeah, no, for sure. Schecky, do you have anything to?
Yeah, I just want to put an asterisk on what Jack said too. I agree with the whole trust but verify thing. But the other thing that was really good about it, to look at the bright side of it, is, we were also investors too. We still are. So we were also victimized by the same supplier as investors, not just as sales and marketing guys to other investors. So what was beautiful about that is, after all of the stinging that went on, we took a look at it and said, how could we create a situation where future investors don't ever have to worry about this stuff? So when you say trust but verify, what can we put in from a standpoint of our processes that are indeed that verification, that they don't, it doesn't even matter if they trust us or not, right? Like, I mean, I know that they do, but there's complete, verification and validation, and most importantly, transparency within the processes, so that anybody, whether they're on the other side of the world or right in our own backyard, can look at it and go, oh, I see what you've done here. This is a great deal, and then it's just a matter of them saying yay or nay to the deal. It's not a matter of, being in a situation where they've, got to wonder like, well, who the heck are these guys and why should I be doing business with them? So it's really helped us a lot. It took us a long time to get there, but there were some seeds of really great stuff that came out of all that negativity.
Yeah, for sure. And, I hear it time and time again. It's the times where, you're absolutely, beat down to the ground that, your best successes will come after that. I probably butchered that analogy, but something to that effect.
No, I think you nailed it. I just wanted to add one more thing too, on top of what Schecky said, because, I believe that, every adversity, there lies a seed of an equivalent or a greater benefit. That's Napoleon Hill's famous quote from Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And I look at this, what happened with the first supplier and just the bomb that was dropped on us. But what happened was I wouldn't have met Schecky if it hadn't been for him, because I was selling property really, fast and furious. And then I brought Schecky in to help scale that. I wouldn't have met Kevin, who's our head of acquisitions and heads up our rehab division. And then Josh, who does all of our property management. These guys are incredible. These are my brothers. Like I love these guys. We go to battle in the trenches together, so to speak. And all of this, the four of us were all brought together by the one guy that was, he was not on the up and up, but the good thing that he did was taught us what not to do. As Schecky alluded to, we put processes in place because of what he did, and then we all came together. So look, I mean, like I said, the story is not, the chapters aren't over. We're writing them right now, but we're very optimistic about what we've got as a company and as a working partnership. I'll take that any day, this type of camaraderie that we have over the profits and money that, we had to lose and give up to take care of our investors.
Yeah. No, that's huge. That's huge.
Nicely said, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean it. I'm being authentic, not just saying that for the podcast, right?
Yeah. No, and I think, you hit on a really good point. And, a couple other guests have touched on it as well. You have to enjoy doing the business with the other person before you even think about the profits and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about a keystone deal. So a deal that made a big impact on you and your business. I'm not sure if you guys want to share a deal or if you each have one that comes to mind. Schecky, do you want to chime in?
Well, I think for me, it's two. I have a positive and a negative. The negative one we've already discussed because it's, we got bludgeoned to death even in some of our own purchases.
Yeah.
That are like, boy, that was a keystone because it's like, okay, this completely changed everything because we're never going to do that again. We're never going to operate this way again. We're going to just change everything and we're going to really move in a direction where everything makes sense. So that was one. But shortly after we made that decision, or in that transitional period while we were making that decision, I actually got a referral from a buddy of mine. And it was another gentleman that he worked with. And this guy literally in about 2 weeks ended up bought 21 properties from us.
Nice.
And, it was a pretty good size sale for us and, really certainly, helps with the revenue side of things and really went at a time when we really needed it. And not to say that we don't need it now, but, it just was really, really great timing. And we didn't even have all of our processes dialed in very well then, but the guy still likes us. His properties are performing, and we're continuing to improve with him, even though when he started as an investor, we didn't even have everything dialed in, but he's getting to experience our improvement and growth and all that kind of stuff. So, those were kind of almost polar opposites in, the way I felt about things. One was disgust and anger, one is pure elation.
Yeah.
But, so we've experienced a pretty broad spectrum of emotions being in this business. But, even that, and, you have to just learn to enjoy the roller coaster ride.
Yeah. And Jack, is there one that stands out for you?
Mine are, almost mirrors Schecky's. I definitely, got, totally can say the same thing about the first supplier. And it wasn't one investment. It was a series of a lot of investments, right? And then on the flip side, I had an investor that purchased 19 properties all in pretty much one package closing. So that was obviously a monster deal. It was closed like within a few days of my 40th birthday. Threw a huge party, not because I made that sale, it was pre-planned, right? But just had this real, high and incredible feeling of optimism. And then that was like a month later where everything just kind of collapsed around us. So it's interesting, how it's such a roller coaster ride. And, I don't have to do this at all. Like this game, I don't need to be in this game at all because I have a very successful company in nutrition, and that I could retire on at age 40, or I could have retired even before then. But I love the game. I love the game of Monopoly, and I love the big boy game of Monopoly that we're playing today. So to me, it's about the game, and I want to win the game, and I want my partners to win with me. So that's why I'm here. I want my investors to win, so it's just that competitive side that I can't squash it no matter what. I just want to be in the game and in the trenches. And if I'm not, I'm bored.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. I thought about going and play golf and getting good, but it's boring. Plus I suck. So I realized it's not that much fun.
That's going to take a lot of work. I've seen that swing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And, golf's one of those sports where, you can practice every day and still suck 5 years later. Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Big risk.
Yeah. So let's talk about the product with the turnkey, because somebody might be listening and not understand what it is you guys do. So who wants to take this one?
I'll take it. So we provide a turnkey. Just means that it's very, very hands off. So we're providing a very end-to-end solution for investors really all over the world that want to own rental properties. We're specifically focused on Indianapolis. For those of you that don't know, that's in Indiana. It's in the Midwest in the United States. And we're specifically in this nice big city because there's some incredibly low prices, fantastic price to rent ratios, and we just do everything. So we go ahead and acquire the property with our own money. We go through all the rehab process that we talked about. We bring in a third-party inspector to check our work. We bring our property management team in to make sure that we place a good tenant. We get that thing cash flowing. We get it stabilized. Then and only then is it sold to an investor as a performing asset. We even include a warranty on the property to guarantee the work that we've done with it. We warrant all the major systems on the property, so they can, walk in with a very, very clear conscience. They're just, buying a performing asset. And of course, there's some other tax advantages with depreciation and that sort of stuff too. But that's really what we do. We stick to pretty much C-class properties. They admittedly are a little bit more difficult to manage, but we've got a really, really strong management team and strong collection efforts. And, we're just able to really, really make it work. Like that's our lane. And we pretty much stick to, on the low side, probably 45,000, on the high side, maybe 75,000 total for the finished property. That's the entire price. We do sell all cash. Our properties don't lend themselves well to, bank financing up front just because of the lower price. And most of the lenders have $75,000 minimums these days. However, we do have a lot of investors that will pay cash up front and then go do a cash out refi, or they're doing something out of their retirement account, or they're doing something with an infinite banking product, or, there's lots of different ways to do it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's all cash and that's it. But, to us, the transaction feels like cash no matter what the source is. But we've been really, really successful doing that because again, it was another one of those processes that took a long time to say, yeah, okay, we get an occasional person that wants the prettier B class in the suburbs, and it's like, we'll go do that, but we got to pay more, and we got to do a prettier rehab, and we got to put more into it, and there's not really any more markup in it, and unfortunately, the investor is actually getting less ROI than the uglier property in the C class neighborhood. So we just decided, this is what we do best. This is what we're going to do. We've got all the relationships to buy as much inventory as we want. And that's just what works, and that's what we're sticking to.
Oh, for sure. Jack, do you have anything to add there?
Schecky's the systems guy. I mean, this is his lane. He's phenomenal at really kind of spearheading the processes that we have today. So, no, I don't really have too much to add. I do say this, our investor base, when I really think about okay, boil it all down, what are they really buying? They're really not buying a property because they're not really, most of them don't come into town and do tours. They're not looking at what paint color we used or carpeting or laminate or granite or whatever whatever the end product looks like. They care, but not that much. What they really care about is what's the performance of the property? What's my net return on investment, my cap rate? So most of our properties hit around 10% as of right now. Properties are getting, are going up for us in price, which is great. That's a good sign, of course. So our prices are going up as well to be able to do what we do. So I don't know how much longer that'll last. Starting to creep up to where it might not work. Might be, 8-9%. But as of right now, it's 10%. And that's what we deliver. And that's what the investors, that's ultimately what they're buying is a stream of income, not necessarily a property.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. So Jack, how has getting into real estate changed your life so far?
Well, I've never really had to have a lawyer on call every single week like I do now. I'm just kidding. Kind of. Being in a much more highly capital intensive potential litigious environment, that's certainly a different game. It's definitely much more of a shark infested waters type game than I'm used to. Yeah. Like in the network marketing world, it's so different. There's no lawyers. You just know any of this challenges. There's certainly some bad people that get in, but they usually get out pretty quick. Whereas in real estate, I feel like it's just a much more game that's prone for bad people to be in it. And that's, I hate to say that's sad. So you have to be able to, like I said at the beginning, trust but verify what you're doing in the real estate world, because there's a lot of ways that you can be taken advantage of that you don't really think about.
Schecky?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, I was in the real estate business before and was flipping, and back when the crash happened in 2008, I pretty much got my ass handed to me on a silver platter. So I had essentially sworn off real estate until Jack and I had a relationship. I was actually consulting him in his other business. But I can honestly say, there's lots of it that's been freaking awesome, because as Jack alluded to, yes, there's definitely some shark-infested waters, but we have been challenged a lot. And I feel like, at least from a business standpoint, I've gone through and continue to go through a tremendous amount of growth. And, in putting in systems and doing things right and managing employees and, working with investors, I mean, it's way more than we bargained for, especially when you listen to our story about how we just started as sales and marketing guys. And we never really set out to own a sales and marketing company. Oh, and by the way, have a property management company. Oh, and have a construction company too, just for fun. It's not what we set out to do. But in that challenge, like I said, comes a tremendous amount of growth. And so, we know so much more now than what we did a couple of years ago. And like Jack said, certainly blessed to have, amazing partners and amazing relationships and amazing relationships with many of our investors too, which is also great. And as you mentioned too, like just, some of the, having a podcast and being able to do guest spots on podcasts like yours, there's the relationships that we've built over the last couple of years have just been absolutely fantastic. And in my mind, that's the stuff of life, right? Like your own growth and your relationships with others, that's more important than all the money. And don't get me wrong, I like the money and I want money. In fact, I want lots of it. I'm not ashamed to say that. Because there's a lot of good that you can do with that money, not just for yourself, but for others. But the real stuff of life is in the growth and the relationships. And that's what I'm most grateful for.
Yeah, no, well, 100%. So guys, if somebody's looking to get in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing, where can they find you?
Yeah, just go to our website, Seth, highreturnrealestate.com. And then there, they can learn all about us. We got videos. You can subscribe to our podcast. Most importantly is we highly recommend booking a call with Nicole. She's our head of investor relations. Everybody loves Nicole. She's so bubbly and she's funny. She's just great. And she's an investor too. She was one of my first investors. I recruited her onto our team because I love the way she handled adversity, as an investor. Like she was phenomenal. I knew she would be a great fit. So book a call with her. It's more of a strategy call than anything because she's kind of helping people to understand more about our model, what we do, what we don't do, matching up with potential properties that might fit as they come through our, end checklist. So yeah, definitely sign up there.
That's great. Well, guys, this has been an absolute blast. Thanks very much for taking the time and sharing your success with us.
Thanks so much, Seth. We really enjoyed it. This has been fun.
Yeah, Seth. Yeah, I mirror what he said. This has been great and really appreciate you having us on your show.
No, it was my pleasure. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well on your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.